Welcome to this webisode edition of Talking Points. I'm Chilekasi Adele. U.S. President Joe Biden welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga to the White House. Joining us to talk more about that meeting is Talking Points analyst Jacob Goldberg. Jacob, thanks for joining us today. Let's start off with this question. What was so special about this meeting? You have Suga, you have Biden. What was so special about this to start off?
Yeah, thanks, Chile. So one of the most notable parts about this meeting from an outsider was it was the first time that Joe Biden invited another world leader into the White House since taking office. Obviously, this is good for many reasons. He stressed the fact during the meeting about how he was so supportive of Suga and how he was thankful that he was the first person to invite into the White House. Also, this is good because it shows that we're moving in the right direction with COVID, where the president feels comfortable to invite leaders to Washington, D.C. and have that one-on-one conversation with them in person.
That COVID bit is very important in talking about foreign policy. Talking more about foreign policy here, of course, Japan and China are two countries that feel as if they've been strong-armed by the Chinese government. China was a big talking point in this meeting. Kind of break down for us what they were mentioning.
So the United States and Japan have been very weary of China recently because of a lot of the things they've done in the international scale. Well, for example, the Uyghurs, that's been a huge crisis with the camps that people have uncovered in recent months. Also, both countries are concerned about China's relationship with Taiwan. They're both trying to protect Taiwan and make sure that China recognizes them as a country and doesn't try to, in the future invade them maybe or even take over their territory and their territorial claims. So Suga stressed many times that he wants to establish a good relationship with the U.S. This is going to be a huge allyship going forward. And he even discussed the relationship between the two countries. And he said this.
Human rights and the rule of law are the universal values that link our alliance that is prevalent in the Indo-Pacific.
Yeah, so once again, this is going to be crucial for both countries to create peace and keep peace in the Indo-Pacific region, and that's a huge thing for Suga. He just wants to make sure that all the countries around him and his country as well are able to keep peace and coexist with one another.
So we know that the Chinese government is not afraid of shying away from things like this. When they feel as if they're criticized, they're not shy when it comes to hitting back. How did China respond to this meeting, and why does their perspective matter?
Yeah, so obviously China matters probably the most out of their perspective because they're the biggest country in the world. They're a fast-growing country, they're fast-growing economically, and they're becoming one of the global superpowers. It's almost like a modern Cold War between the United States and China right now, especially in many of the technology aspects of the world. And China's foreign minister, Wang Yi, said that he believes that Japan should not get involved in this so-called confrontation between major countries. And he was almost mocking Japan and the United States in a way, basically mocking the fact that they call themselves major countries. So it's interesting that China is taking this approach, maybe not taking these two countries as seriously now that they know they're becoming a global superpower.
And we've heard that kind of response from Chinese foreign ministers before, the Chinese government, the CCP. We talked about all this between the United States and Japan. Now, also, they're not the only countries that have been feeling this heat from China. You had Biden, who had a Quad summit recently with India and Australia as well. How do you think that this meeting with Japan and this whole overall Quad summit, how do you think that's going to affect Biden's relationships with not only Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, but also Indian Prime Minister Modi as well?
Well, I think it's a great thing for all these four countries. They obviously have a mutual beneficial relationship with each other to try and make sure that China doesn't become this global superpower and maybe takes advantage of countries down the line. So I think it's very good for these four countries. They're going to work together a lot in the future, and it shows that Biden is taking this very seriously and believes this is going to be one of the biggest problems going forward, and that's how I view it.
I think that's a very interesting point, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this ongoing fight against China from all these countries goes as we move forward. Talking Points analyst Jacob Goldberg, thank you so much.
No problem.
And thank you for watching this webisode edition of Talking Points. Don't forget, catch our show every Monday night at 6 p.m. on OTN, and you can follow us on Twitter at CitrusTV News. I'm Chilekasi Adele. Have a great night, Syracuse.